Hello listener, you're welcome to my Beautifier Community Youth Uganda and Recovery Chapel. I am your host, Jamesboy Imani, and today I'm going to speak on a topic called communication skills. So, communication skills is our topic today. Now, basically, I'll begin by defining what communication skills are or what it means. Now, communication skills are abilities to use when giving and receiving different kinds of information. So these are abilities that a person uses when giving and receiving different kinds of information. As we all know, it's very important for communication and information exchange, because if not for communication skills, there would be disaster. There would be trouble and there would be a lot of confusion, and I don't think even the world would move peacefully as it is moving right now if there was no coordination. So coordination and movement and for everything to run smoothly, of course we need to be in harmony. So communication helps different individuals in doing specific tasks, and at the same time to avoid clashing, because it is easier when people move in coordination, because each person has what they are thinking, each person has their own dream, each person has their own target, let's say in a day. So if there's no proper communication, it would be hard to get tasks done. So communication is essential to get tasks done and to enable smooth movement in life, as we see here. Now, communication skills are soft skills which allow anyone to give and receive information. In Proverbs chapter 13 verse 17 it says, "A wicked messenger falls into trouble, but a trustworthy envoy gains healing." Here we realize a messenger is a person who carries the message. So if the message is not with good intention, or if a message is wrongly delivered, it ends someone in trouble. But a good message communicated well by the one communicating to the recipient, it gains healing, and it's very beneficial. So communication helps the person sending the message forth to get his agenda done, and even the person receiving the message easily can relate with the person communicating, thereby making things easy. Now, the word communication by itself means it's the exchange of information from one person to another. Communication is used in everyday life, at workplace, at home, in family, in ministry, even during prayer itself. Prayer is communication, to God. So communication not only helps us to communicate with our fellow people or even animals and all that, but it also helps us to communicate with God, of course by the help of the Holy Spirit, who helps us to know the proper ways in which to talk to God, So communication is that vital. Now, we have 4 types of communications. We have the verbal, we have the non-verbal, we have the written, and we have the visual. Now, in verbal communication, words are spoken. A person speaks, words are intentionally spoken. Now, in non-verbal, we have things like, here, this is communication without speaking. So we have things like body language, we have the facial expression. So this means the face has some particular kind of way you can read and tell what this person probably is trying to say. We have gestures. Gestures, this is when you don't speak, but maybe from a distance you throw up like a sign or something, hand gesture, and someone could tell what you're meaning. But we also have something like sign language. That is sign language for those who are impaired, especially on hearing. they tend to use sign language. So it's also a form of non-verbal communication, which is communication itself. We have the written. Written is also a form of communication. Here language is used. So it's written language where you can also use symbols and numbers. We have the visual. Visual comprises of what you see. So visual is sight, what is seen with the eyes. So communication can be visual through examples like photography, art, drawings, crafts, charts, graphs, and more. So that's also a type of communication. Now, in life, there is a lot of importance, as we have seen, to know how to communicate. Good communication helps a lot of things done. Good communication gets work done. Good communication helps streamline everything in all spheres of life, as we have seen. It can be work, it can be home, it can be family, it can be ministry, even in prayer spiritually. So communication is very important if we master the good communication skills. Now, one important communication skill is active listening. Active listening is when someone is telling you something, you give them time and listen. You are attentive, you pay attention, you listen. So not only do you listen, but also you get chance to ask questions after listening, and you also give your comments. You give your opinion on what you've just been told or what you've listened to. So it is very important. Listening helps you to analyze what that person is trying to pass across to you, and you can be helpful in the end. Listening also, during listening, facial expression is good, because as you listen, you also read the facial expression and body language and the tone of the person speaking, which helps you to respond appropriately. Also the rephrasing for proper interpretation. Sometimes you have to repeat the person's question to them to find out if you've heard them correctly for proper interpretation and proper response. Now, the second skill which is important is communication method. Each type of communication can be effectively applied through different mediums. For example, we have different forms of communication. We have email, we have telephone, we have now things like WhatsApp, social media, we have direct face-to-face. All those are different forms of communication, and each one applies best in different ways. For example, we have like email. Email can be good in a professional setting where someone is a distant and also giving someone instruction or information about something. We also have WhatsApp, which is maybe a more social kind of platform by which you can communicate with friends and maybe not so much professional. Then we have direct telephone, which might involve some people who are very far, which can also be applicable in some instances professionally and sometimes also personally on urgent matters. So communication is important and can be effective depending on the setting the person is in. So when communicating, it's good to analyze and assess which communication is best depending on the person you want to communicate to. The other component of good communication is friendliness. It's important to be friendly when communicating so that this person can freely open up to you. Friendliness involves honesty, it involves kindness, things like smiling, positive attitude. So wherever you are, friendliness is important, be it at workplace especially, because most times we see people who are at customer relations sometimes are actually rude, they're unfriendly, they have tough faces and friendly faces, and this really turns off the customer or even the person probably at church or anything. So it is very good that we are friendly to whoever we are communicating with or to, or whoever is trying to communicate to us. Of course, it's also very important to have confidence, especially when you're the one communicating, expressing yourself. This could be maybe during a job interview or maybe during a presentation or during a preaching, whatever it is or wherever you are, confidence is very important. There is also sharing or putting mediums of receiving or providing feedback, which is very important. So feedback is also one way to know what people are feeling about you or your product or whatever you're doing. So it is good to also accept critical feedback. That's also a form of communication which can help you develop in whatever sphere of life you're in. Then there is also volume and clarity when speaking or when communicating is good for the volume, especially this is for the audible kind of speaking. Communication where volume and clarity is important, and articulation of words. So when you're speaking, the person listening to you can hear you well and also understands you well by what you're trying to say. There's also empathy. Empathy, I believe, goes hand in hand a bit with friendliness, and empathy involves emotional intelligence, how you know to treat people because people differ, people are different, people have different personalities, characters, and all that. So empathy helps you to read the person who you're communicating with at that particular time and knowing how to respond to them or interact with them. So that's also an important skill. Then there's also respect. It's good to be respectful when you're communicating with this person. You give them time to air their view. You tolerate their difference in opinion, and you also air yours. But it's good to respect because opinions are two-way and sometimes you may see things differently. So it's good you also tolerate that person and give them space and time to also communicate what is on their mind, which is also very important. The other, which is responsiveness. It's good during communication you respond appropriately and possibly in time. So if someone sends you a text and probably you're at work and is trying to inquire about your business, it is good to respond appropriately and in time. And if possible, if you are unable to respond immediately, if it requires a lot of information, you could actually tell this person, I'll get back to you. So that's also a very good communication skill, and it's helpful in life. Now, in Colossians chapter 4, verse 6, Colossians chapter 4, verse 6 says, let your conversation be gracious and attractive, so that you will have the right response for everyone. So communication, even in the Bible, is encouraged, and it's good to be gracious and attractive in whatever you say or how you communicate, so that you will have the right response for everyone. So this is very important. Now the question is how to improve communication skills. The first is observe good communicators around you. And also it's good to surround yourself with people who are good at communicating. This helps you to either learn or not or they could help you in tough situations. If you remember in the Bible, the story of Moses and Aaron had a problem with communication, but after he complained to God, God gave him Aaron. So Moses received Aaron as a partner to help him in the hard tasks in life. So Aaron filled in for Moses' weaknesses. So sometimes we could be having some weakness which we are unable to overcome. It is good to surround ourselves with people who can help us communicate such things. So communication, either you surround yourself with people who can communicate and you learn the skill, or you can actually surround yourself with people who are good at communicating, who can help you to do it on your behalf. That's also very important. It's also important to ask a close friend or colleague or relative for constructive criticism. This is the positive feedback, the critical feedback, which helps you to learn where you're going wrong, to learn where you need to improve, and for future better delivery. In Proverbs chapter 13, verse 18, it says, if you ignore criticism, you will end up in poverty and disgrace. If you accept correction, you will be honored. So correction is actually a good virtue, and it helps us to improve ourselves. and is highly encouraged. So no one is perfect. Everyone needs correction here and there. So it's good to make room for positive criticism, which helps you improve in life. The next one is practice to improve communication habits. Of course, this comes with time, practice, getting the positive criticism, associating with the right people, observing better communicators. All that is practice, learning and application until you perfect mastery. Now, the other thing is pray to God. Everything good, everything nice comes from God. So God has to be consulted first. So you pray to God, for His Spirit, for the Holy Spirit to teach you how to relate with others, because most of the qualities required in communication skills are actually fruits of the Holy Spirit. Communication, you need to be humble, you need to be kind, you need to be empathetic, you need to have self-control, and all those come from the fruits of the Spirit of God. So these are things you have to pray for, and God will grant to you. Now, the important tips for proper communication: 1, you have to remember to be clear, concise, and concrete. Be clear, concise, brief, and concrete. May your point hold. You have to have gist. Whatever you have to say has to have content and meaning. Coherent. You have to be coherent. That means you have to be logical, well organized, and easy to understand. So your information has to be logical, make sense, well organized, and easy to understand. Also, your information has to be complete. So don't present half-baked things, half-baked information. You have to give exhaustive information. But remember, however exhaustive it is, you should still be concise, brief. So you can still exhaust your points, but in brief. You have to be cautious. That means you have to be very polite and respectful while passing on your message to others. And of course, you have to be correct. It's very important to deliver information that is correct. So that means before you speak or pass on information, you have to do your research. You have to be sure that whatever you're saying is accurate and not misleading others. In Ephesians chapter 4 verse 25, it says, "Stop telling lies. Let us tell our neighbors the truth, for we are all parts of the same body." So information that is not correct is definitely lies. And the Bible emphasizes it's good to speak what you're sure about. That means telling the truth. And that means doing your research and presenting what is right. Now, the other thing, you have to assert yourself. That means be confident and firm in your opinion. Stand by what you say and be sure what you're saying, and be firm. Don't be shaken. You have to be confident. Then, of course, you have to be calm and consistent. So in delivering your message, you are calm, not nervous, not agitated. In a way, you have to deliver when you're calm and consistent. Your message should not be divergent. So your message has to be consistent, And then use and read body language. It's very important. Whether you're communicating or being communicated to, it's important to use the skill of mastering body language. It makes things easy for you to deliver the message or to even receive it. Now, those are the important tips for proper communication. In closing, the verses I can give, in James chapter 1 verse 19, it says, "Understand this, my dear brothers and sisters. You must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry." Basically, this summarizes the key elements in communication skills, or you can even say public speaking or whoever you meet. It is important when you're communicating with other people, you must be quick to listen. That means you have to be attentive. Listen. Give time to listen and pick what this person is trying to tell you, or whatever message which is being conveyed to you, for proper interpretation and application and response. So listening is the first. Then you have to be slow to speak. So you take time so that you don't just rush to speak, because you could speak something that is irrelevant, or you could speak something that is misleading, or you could even speak something that can cause problems or confusion or havoc. So you have to also be slow to speak and also slow to get angry. It does not matter whatever is being said at you. It could be annoying, or someone could be provoking you, but it's very important you first be calm before you respond. Otherwise, your response could lead to further disaster, to turmoil. So it's good to also control your emotions and control the anger. So that is James chapter 1 verse 19. I'll repeat it. It says, "Understand this, my dear brothers and sisters. You must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry." I'll conclude with 1 John chapter 3 verse 18, which says, "Dear children, let's not merely say that we love each other. Let us show the truth by our actions." So, the greatest actions we can use to show that we love one another, is by how we speak. What do we communicate? What do you say? Are your words building others? Are your words encouraging others? Do your words offer solutions, or do your words break people down? Do your words lead people to fear? Do your words lead people to hate one another? Do your words lead to separation and war? Do your words bring God glory, or do your words actually exalt the devil? So it's very important, not only through spoken words, but in whichever way we are communicating. Let's use this medium of communication to glorify God. Use this medium of communication, whichever different medium of communication, whichever types of communication we have, to glorify God, to edify people, to build people, to build communities, to change lives and make things better. So be it through verbal, be it through non-verbal, be it through written, be it through visual. Do whatever we do, knowing that we are accountable to God by whatever we convey to others. And at the same time, let us also be accountable to God on how we react in case people try to communicate to us. How do we treat people when people are trying to communicate to us? Are we rude to them? Are we angry to them? Are we arrogant to them? How do we react when people try to communicate information to us? Let's say someone wants to inquire something from you. Or even how do we react when people try to provoke us, or when people communicate wrongful information to us? How we react is very important. At the same time, how we also speak, send our message, how we convey our messages is important. At the same time, it's also important how we also respond to the messages that are sent to us. In the end, whatever we do should give God glory, and we shall live happily with others in harmony.